Okay, hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Yoga with April. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thanks for joining. If you've been here a few times and you've watched a few of my videos, make sure you like and subscribe if you like what you're seeing. Definitely give me some feedback in the comments here too. If you have any questions or if there's a certain flow or something that you would like a target area for me to assist you on, I would love to, make a video for that too. Today's video will be super fun. It's going to be geared towards those who like to rock climb, whether it's indoor, outdoor, if you're bouldering, if you climb once a year, if you're climbing, multiple times during the week. This is definitely a good video to utilize. So in this video, we'll work on, like body awareness, strength, your mental state, your breathing. Those are all techniques that you use on the mat, right? But those can also be used on the wall, whether it's a wall outside, whether it's a climbing wall inside. You want to really work on the body awareness. Breathing can definitely help when you're going from different holes or those tricky cruxes that you might encounter too. And then also just like your in general body awareness, working that core, that's a good area that you can use when you're climbing, and we also work with it in yoga too. So the flow I created is kind of guide us through all of those different aspects, those different avenues in yoga practice. So when you are ready, we're gonna start at the top of our mat. Now I'm gonna stay at the side of my mat just so I can show you kind of what we're doing. So for those watching or going along with me, make sure you're at the top of your mat here, and we're going to just kind of find a center here. So what I mean by that, I want us to just work on finding balance, finding some body awareness, learning how that should feel or how you can kind of produce that in your own body. So from here, feel free, if you're comfortable, close your eyes, and we're just going to find mountain pose or Tadasana. So in mountain pose, you want your hips your feet about hips distance apart, right under those. You want your palms facing up towards the front of the room here. And you want to just make sure you are rolling those shoulders back, coming with a nice, long, straight spine. And just find your normal breath here. So in this Tadasana or this mountain pose, typically you're wanting to stand still and you're wanting to just focus on your breathing, but I want to invite movement here. So when I say that, what I'm meaning is maybe you go to the front of the mat or the front of the tippy toes, loosening the weight in the heels. Or maybe you then kind of go towards the back, putting more weight in the heels, lifting those toes up. So showing that your center of gravity is kind of moving around in this pose. Feel free to sway from left to right or any other natural movements that come to you here. So in our mountain pose, we want to just keep those eyes closed for just a moment and just focus on your own breathing. Big inhales in, and then just push it all out with that exhalation. Just a couple more rounds. Maybe lifting the inner arches of the feet, keeping those shoulders down away from the ears. And maybe you find some neck rolls here too. Just loosening up the neck. I know definitely in rock climbing when you're belaying, you're usually looking up unless you have those cool belay glasses that I don't have. I mean, just when your day-to-day activities, we're definitely working our neck almost always. So it's good to kind of roll it out, find some gentle movement here. And if you're working from one side, maybe you switch to the other. So if you started lifting to your left, let's lift to our right this time. And just a few more. And coming back to center here, let's do a little bit with the shoulders. So let's roll those shoulders up towards the ears and then down towards the ground here. Still playing with the shifting of the weight. I know when you are standing, you're typically not standing still, right? There's always some type of movement here. So allow that here. Just become aware of, where your body is moving today. Along with that, maybe just how are you feeling today? Like, could you use some work? Could you kind of rest with this? Are you wanting to push yourself a little bit more? Just coming to your mat, to this full present state here as you are today. All right, finishing up that shoulder rolls here. If you did have your eyes closed, feel free to open them now. We're gonna go into tree pose. So this tree pose, I don't want you finding your biggest expression. So I don't want the inner sole of the foot into the inner edge of the thigh. I simply want us to bring the heel to the calf. So we're gonna start with our right foot here. So think of your right foot as a kickstand. So the toes are gonna stay on the ground, and you're gonna bring that right heel in as close as you can to the inner edge of the the left shin. And if this is easy for you already, maybe you start by closing your eyes, but let's all start in this first state here. So you can probably already notice in this tree pose now more weight is on your left foot. The ankle is definitely working, mine's working here. So allow that shaking to happen, allow the movement to happen. Your ankle is doing the job of keeping you up. So this is kind of what I mean by finding that body awareness. So we're moving the ankles, we're trying to keep a steady, firm foundation here, all while we have a little kickstand with our right foot. So finding a tree pose here, bringing the hands to heart center, and we're just gonna focus, find a drishti. In yoga, that means just find a spot on the ground or on the wall that is not moving and gear your focus right to there. Now, like I said, if you're just kind of hanging out and you're like, this isn't doing much for me, how about you play with closing your eyes? Losing one of those senses will heighten the others. And just a few breaths. I know when I close my eyes, my ankle goes crazy. Finishing up that last inhale. And we'll exhale to switch. So let's just bring it out a little bit. Let's inhale those arms up overhead, shape of the sun, and we'll exhale those arms to heart center and then down to our sides. So moving here to our left side, so we'll move or shift that weight to our right foot here, and we'll now bring that left heel into the inner edge of the right shin, right calf. And again, we're still using those toes, those left toes as a kickstand. So find where you feel comfortable, keeping those hips squared towards the front of the mat as well. If you had your palms at heart center this time, well, yeah, if you did have your palms at heart center, let's inhale those arms up and start growing our branches here. When we grow our branches, feel free to bring your gaze up towards the sky as well. But if you feel more comfortable with the gaze towards the ground, please stay as is. And then just a few subtle breaths. And again, just wakening up the ankle joints, the foot. Sometimes those are the spots that we don't work as much. And I know in rock climbing, you use your feet on those crazy holds, and sometimes it's just a toe or maybe it's the side of the foot. So just bringing awareness to that foot and all that it's doing for you. 2 more rounds. Big inhale. And exhale, let it go. Bring those palms to heart center. We'll wash that away with our inhale. So inhale, arms up overhead. And this time as we exhale, we're gonna hinge at the hips as we fold down towards the ground here. So hands can be on our shin, or if you do have that space, you can bring the fingertips to the mat here as well, as long as that spine stays nice and straight. I'm gonna move to the top of my mat here too. So big inhale and that halfway lift. And this time as we exhale, bring a micro bend to the knees and fold, releasing that tension in the lower back, possibly grabbing opposite elbows just for ragdoll. We'll be here just for a moment. Again, shaking that head from left to right to release the tension in the neck. And so I'm bringing the hands to the ground. We'll inhale as we halfway lift. And this time as we exhale, we're gonna find our way to our plank pose. So like I said in the beginning of this class, we're gonna be working a lot with the core. So we're gonna start right away with firing it up. So in our plank pose, we want a long straight line. So head should be in line with the shoulders, shoulders in line with the hips. Really push away at the palms and the forearms as you round and separate those shoulder blades here. Gaze slightly in between the hands to keep the neck elongated. And you really want to push those heels towards the back of the room, the back of the mat, as you stay on the ball mounds of both feet. Now, if this is ever too much for you, never hesitate to modify this plank pose by bringing the knees to the ground. But if you're feeling feisty today and you want to work that plank pose and work your core, stay with me here with those knees, those knees raised and those legs extended out long. Now we'll be here for just a few moments here. I'm not going to tell you how long, so just find something to gaze at. Just focus on your own breathing here. And I know when I'm getting a little tired in plank pose, I start moving. And again, I encourage that here as well. Maybe you push back those heels, or maybe bring them up towards the front of the mat, pushing away at the ball mounds of the feet. But either way, let's keep those hips high and those shoulder blades separated.
Give me 3 deep rounds of breath here. Last one. And as we exhale, we'll come all the way down to the mat, belly to the mat here. Untuck those toes, bring the top of the feet onto the mat as well. We're gonna keep our hands right where they are under our shoulders. We're going to rise for a baby cobra. So baby cobra here first. Let's keep the hands on the mat as we gently inhale, finding a gentle back bend. Gaze is last. And then we'll exhale, bring the forehead to the mat. Again, big inhale for that baby cobra. Hands still on the mat here. And ride that exhale down. Now this baby cobra, maybe we work on lifting the hands up. So biggest inhale yet. Keeping the hands off the mat, really working those back muscles. And exhale, forehead to mat. Awesome. We're going to find our biggest cobra here too. So we'll extend the arms out longer if you have the space. If you're enjoying what kind of the baby cobra, continue to do that here. But if you're with me, we're going to do another cobra as we extend the arms out long. So big inhale, extend the arms up, up, up and long, finding a big back bend. You can keep a micro bend in the elbows as well. And maybe you separate those feet to the outer edges of the mat, outer corner edges of the mat. And we'll exhale down to the mat. Now on this inhale, we're gonna rise for a tabletop. So coming to a tabletop position, we want the hips in line with the knees. So knees about hip distance apart. And we wanna keep the shoulders over the wrist here as well. Really, so how we are pushing into our hands in plank, you want to find that same pushing action here in our tabletop. Now, you don't need to spread them a crazy amount, but maybe a little bit more than you typically would in a pose that you might be on the ground. You don't want your fingers too close together, so just a gentle separation. The tops of the feet will be on the mat here as well. And we're going to work on cat-cow, so we're going to warm up the spine, find some movement, create some space here. So we'll inhale as we drop the belly and shift the gaze towards the sky. And as we exhale, we're going to curve that lower, mid, upper back, up, up, up. And that chin will come towards the chest. Big inhale here as we drop the belly and shift that gaze, pushing the chest through, separating the collarbones. And exhale, round for cat. Big inhale here. Gaze up towards the sky. And we'll exhale, rounding again at the back and the spine. Now feel free to go with your own breath here. So I will always encourage you to continue to link your own breath with your movement. And always feel free to find any natural movement that comes to you too. So you don't need to stay in this cat-cow position. You can always find some barrel rolling of the belly. Maybe you push those hips back towards the heels just slightly. Whatever is calling for you today. We'll be here for just a few more rounds, so feel free to experiment with any of those options I did give you here. And we'll meet in 3, 2, and 1. Coming back to that neutral spine. Okay, so from here, you want to find again that firm foundation that we kind of spoke about earlier when we first entered tabletop. So you want to keep those shoulders above the wrist, and you really want to find a firm foundation. We're going to work a fun little balancing pose here to activate that core just a little bit more today. So keeping that left hand firmly planted onto the mat, we're going to extend that right hand out long, keeping that in line with your ear. So the bicep here should be in line with the ear. And then when you are ready, start extending that left leg out long as well. So opposite arm, opposite hand. And you want to keep that heel pushing towards the back of the room and flex those toes towards the mat. Now your left hip is going to have a tendency to want to lift up towards the left side of the room. Let's bring that back down and keep those square. We want to keep the neck long as well, so simply just gaze right in between where both of the hands typically would be. And you want to keep the core activated so you're not dipping in and finding a curve in the spine. We want a nice straight spine. Now here is bird dog pose. So you'll notice the more you're activating your core, the more you're able to stabilize in this pose and keep those hips squared. Big breath and exhale. Really push away at those right fingertips as well towards the front of the mat. On our next exhale, we're going to crunch. So let's do a big inhale together and exhale, crunch knee to elbow under the body. Inhale, extend back out long. And exhale, crunch knee to elbow. Inhale, extend. On our last round here, exhale, crunch, hold for just a moment. And we'll inhale, extend all the way out. And exhale, hand and knee back to the mat. So lucky for you, we have two sides of the body, so we're gonna do that again. So let's extend that left arm or that left hand out long here, and we'll extend that right leg to the back of the room when you are ready. And again, just making sure we keep those hips squared, a long straight spine, and keep that core activated. And just breathe, finding your balance. Biggest inhale. And exhale, crunch knee to elbow. Inhale, extend out long. And exhale, crunch knee to elbow. Big inhale as we extend out long. Last crunch here, we'll hold for just a moment. And inhale, extend out long. And we'll exhale, bringing all fours back to the ground. So from here, we're going to find a funky side angle variation. So all we're gonna do is bring our right foot rather, in between both of our hands. And that right hand will now be in the inner arch of the right foot. Now to find this side angle variation, all you're gonna do is pivot your left toes towards the outer edge of the right mat. And you're gonna inhale and extend that right hand, I just don't know my lefts and rights today. Let's inhale and extend that left hand up towards the sky, really trying to open up the chest here. You want to keep a nice bend into that right knee. And if you have if this is kind of too much for you with the full palm on the mat, you can always come up to your fingertips or invite a block or something with some more cushion to bring the ground a little bit further up to you. And just getting a nice stretch into the inner hip. Gazing up towards the sky, or you can stay down towards the mat if your neck's not feeling it today. Keeping that bend in the right knee. Okay, so coming back, we're going to want to activate the core because we're going to inhale as we lift up our torso. So big inhale here, lifting up the torso, arms will be out to a T. And as we exhale here, we're gonna bring our left hand to the back of the mat and extend that right hand up over towards the back of the mat as well. Finding this gait variation. So you're gonna lift up that right heel and kind of swivel it over to the outer edge of the right mat as well. And as we inhale, we're gonna extend that right arm up long towards the back of the room, feeling a nice long side body stretch all through the right side. Toes will still remain untucked here. I like to gaze down towards the mat here, but you're always welcome to gaze up towards the sky as well. That will aid you in helping open up the chest too. Just a few breaths. Awesome. As we exhale, we're going to pivot to the back of our mat now. So we'll be in tabletop to the back of the mat, and we're simply going to just switch sides here. So bring that right foot in between both hands here, the left foot in between both hands, and we'll bring the left hand into the inner arch of the left foot as well. You'll want to pivot onto that right knee and bring those right toes to the outer edge of the right mat. And extend the right arm up long, finding again that side angle variation. I know for me personally, I feel it really good in my inner hip, my inner left hip crease. And always, be playful, find that movement here. Maybe you go and extend that left leg out long and you bring it back towards the back of the mat. And just a steady gaze. Just a few rounds here. Last round, and we'll inhale as we come up to that T position. And as we exhale, place that right hand to the front of the mat. Extend the left arm up long towards the front of the room. Now you want to lift that left heel and just pivot it slightly so the outer edge blade of the left foot is now sealed to the mat. And finding and breathing into that left side body. Just a few rounds here, keeping that shoulder stacked over the wrist. And as we exhale, we'll pivot to the front of the mat once again. And we're simply gonna tuck our toes, lift those knees and hips up towards the sky for downward facing dog. Getting all those cracks out, I know I have them. Lifting one heel and then the other. And really pushing away at the palms, sealing down that thumb and index finger to melt the chest towards the thigh. I like to kind of wiggle my hips from left to right here just to find some movement. Really feel it into the hamstrings. And neck long and heavy. You should be gazing in between both of the legs. And of course, invite any movement here that you feel the need for today. And just a couple rounds here before we find a static downward facing dog. Maybe you lift the heels, bend the knees, and bring the heels back towards the mat. Awesome. Coming back to that neutral or that static downward facing dog, all we're going to do here is inhale that right foot up towards the sky. And as we exhale, we'll bring it to the front of the mat and place the left knee on the mat as well, finding low lunge. We'll inhale those arms up, framing the ears as well. And really sit into those hips, keeping the core activated slightly here. Big inhale as you gaze towards the front of the room, really feeling it in that left quad. Keeping the knee in line with the ankle as well, and you'll want to just gaze up towards the front of the room. Feel free to keep that core activated a little bit and really push into the sole of the right foot. And just come back to your breath. If your arms ever get tired in this position, you can always bring them to heart center, or you can interlace the hands as well and just place those on that right thigh. And again, big inhale. And as we exhale, we'll find our half split. So we'll straighten that front right leg, keeping the heel on the ground, flexing the toes towards the face. You want to keep a nice, long, straight spine as well. Now this might be plenty for you. If you're wanting the ground a little higher, like I mentioned earlier, always bring those blocks under the hands here too. And you never want to round in this half split. So you want to inhale to lengthen the spine, and then as you exhale, slowly pivot over that right thigh, and then to continue to melt. And if you're always looking, or if you're ever looking for more from this position, you can always spider crawl both hands to the outer edge blade or the outer edge of the mat here. So we'll inhale back to that low lunge, and then we'll just tuck those back left toes and come back to our downward facing dog. And inhale that right leg up towards the sky, and we'll exhale it to the front of our mat, dropping that right knee, finding our low lunge. Just a couple breaths here. Really turning and facing those pinkies towards each other. Thumbs should be facing the back of the mat. You want to roll those shoulder blades down as well. So a few breaths. Biggest inhale here. And exhale, finding your half splits. Flexing those toes towards the face and slightly pivoting over that left leg. And spider crawling those hands as you choose. You know, whatever you did on that right side, invite it to the left. Awesome. We'll come back to that low lunge, tucking those back toes and meeting again in our downward facing dog. Maybe pedaling out for just a moment. All right, let's inhale that right foot up towards the sky. And this time, as we exhale, we're going to place it to the top of our mat. Spin the left heel down, sealing the outer edge blade of the left foot. And we're going to rise for Warrior One. So in Warrior One, we want to keep the knee over the ankle, always just to protect that ankle. And you want to work on squaring those hips towards the front of the room as those arms reach up overhead. Just finding something to gaze at here as well, working on that rotation, bringing the pinkies to match, rolling those shoulder blades down. If you're ever wondering in this position how your hips are, if they're doing what they should, always bring your hands to your hips just for a little self-guide self-guided personal assistant. And really work on just pushing and sealing down the outer edge blade of the left foot. Big inhale. And as we exhale, maybe we can lunge a little bit deeper into that front right knee. Biggest inhale here. And as we exhale, we're going to open up for warrior two. So now the hip should be facing the left side of the mat, and our arms will be out to a T, gazing over that right hand. Still keeping about a 90-degree-ish bend in that front leg. That front right thigh should be parallel to that mat as well. I'm not too concerned with heel to arch alignment here. I just want you to find your own balance, and I want you to feel grounded. Big inhale as we lengthen, and exhale, lunge in just a little bit deeper. Just a few more rounds. Always coming back to your breath or finding something to gaze at here. Keeping those shoulder blades away from the ears, rolling them down. And keeping that core activated. So let's inhale as we reverse our warrior. So flip that front hand up and bring it up overhead. Keeping that front right knee and that nice generous bend. And just allowing and opening up in that right side. And we'll exhale back to warrior two. Let's do that one more time. We'll inhale, reverse our warrior. And we'll exhale both hands to the mat, coming to the sole of the left foot here. We're gonna just find a low lunge twist. So keep that knee up, inhale that right arm up overhead. Really pushing into that the left hand. And you don't wanna let your left ear kind of close into the left shoulder. You wanna keep a nice little space in there too. And just gazing up towards the sky. Really work on keeping that my left and rights are not here today. You want to keep that right knee up towards the front of the mat too, in line with the foot. And we'll exhale that right hand down, framing that right foot, and we'll step back to downward facing dog. Let's inhale that left foot up overhead, and we'll exhale to the top of our mat, finding warrior one. So you want to have about a 45-degree angle into the right foot as well. And you want to keep that nice bend in our left leg here. And square those hips towards the front of the mat as those arms frame the ears. Big inhale and exhale. Again, always finding that drishti 2 here. If you're ever feeling like you want to collapse out of this pose. Again, let's do another big inhale here. And as we exhale, lunge just a little bit deeper. Last inhale. And exhale, open up to warrior two. So now those hips should be towards the right side of the mat, and those arms will be out to a T. Really just finding, like I said, don't worry about that heel to arch alignment. Just find a steady, good foundation that works for you today, and just work on sealing that outer edge blade of the right foot into the mat. Big inhale, reverse that warrior. And exhale back to warrior two. Again, reverse that warrior, keeping that bend into the left knee. And exhale to warrior two. Let's do one more on that side. Big inhale, reverse that warrior. And we'll exhale both hands to the mat, finding that twist here. So you want to pivot back onto the ball mount of the right foot and extend that left arm up overhead. Just finding a nice twist, keeping that left knee pretty centered with that with the left foot. Kind of keep it close towards the chest and really push away at that right hand. Just a couple more rounds. And we'll exhale both hands to the mat, framing the left foot as we step to downward facing dog. So we're going to go through those poses just two more times, or one more time on each side. And then we're going to come back and revisit that tree pose here. So just an idea of where we're going. So we'll inhale that right foot up overhead, and we'll exhale to the top of our mat, spinning that back heel down, rising for warrior one. And exhale to settle. One more big inhale here. And exhale. Last inhale. And we'll exhale to warrior two. Big inhale here. One, exhale to settle. This time as we inhale, let's reverse our warrior. And then we'll exhale back to warrior two. Last reverse here. And exhale those hands to the mat. We're gonna find that twist here once more. And this time from here, instead of downward facing dog, we're gonna come right to tree pose. So from this low lunge, feel free to just slowly pivot up off that left foot and come to the top of your mat. If you're ever wanting a fun extra challenge here, you can come from low lunge to tree without letting your left foot touch the mat. So you'll be in your low lunge. You definitely want to look up and find something to gaze at as you're doing this. And as you exhale, just slowly come right on up, keeping that left knee close towards the chest, or kind of hips distance. And then we'll find our bigger expression of tree pose here. So whether that means, I'll come back over here, whether that means it is to the thigh or to the calf, wherever you feel comfortable. So you have the kickstand variation. We have the one that could be on the shin or the calf. And then you have the one that can be on the thigh. You never want it on the knee. That's just gonna cause pain, injuries that we don't want to happen. So finding where you would like to have your tree pose here, make sure you seal the sole of the left foot to the right leg, wherever you choose. And we'll bring our hands to heart center. It's finding another drishti here, kind of coming back to that familiar movement that right ankle is doing now. And if you are not using that kickstand, you are probably seeing that's a little bit more work here. So keep that core activated and just find something to gaze at. And come back to your breath. Now you really want to push that left foot into the inner arch of the right thigh so you can work on pushing that left knee open. Just a couple more breaths. Last inhale here. And we'll exhale to the top of our mat again. And we'll just shake that out with just a little sun A. So we'll inhale those arms up overhead. And as we exhale, we're going to hinge at the hips, bringing the hands to the mat. And this time we'll inhale, halfway lift. And we'll exhale to our plank pose one more time. Just finding some stability here, really pushing away at the mat, keeping those hips high. And we'll be here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then we'll come back to downward facing dog. We'll work on that with our left side here too. So let's inhale that left foot up overhead. And we'll exhale to the top of our mat, spinning that back heel down, rising for warrior one. Framing the ears. Big inhale, and as we exhale, invite that deeper bend. Couple more breaths. Biggest inhale here. And as we exhale, we'll open up to warrior two, bringing those hips to the edge of the mat. And exhale, lunge. Big inhale here, reverse that warrior. And exhale, warrior two. Last reverse here as we inhale. And as we exhale, we'll bring our hands to the mat, coming back to that low lunge, bringing the left hand up towards the sky and pivoting onto the right palm, the right palm out. And just a couple moments. Really keeping that knee up high, keeping those hips up there. And again, we're gonna come from here to our tree pose. So you can try that fun little transition where you keep that right foot kind of balancing and off the mat the entire time, or you can just come to the top of your mat and find tree pose that way. So as we exhale, we're going to slowly lift off that right foot and bring it in towards the chest. Prayer hands always help me. It makes me feel like I'm balancing more, so maybe that's something you could do too. And again, we're gonna find that tree variation. So this time we'll have our right foot wherever you choose to for this pose. So whether that's lower or higher, and really push that right sole of the foot into the left thigh so you can open up that right knee. And maybe you find something different with the hands. So if they're at heart center this time, maybe you extend them up and grow those branches. And if you're feeling really crazy today, maybe you test closing your eyes and seeing how your balance is that way. I know when you're climbing or when you're on the wall,
it's easy to let the mental game get to you. So maybe when you close your eyes, you can focus on your breath and focus on that body awareness. Take what you do from the mat today onto the wall. Just a couple rounds. Feeling and loving and inviting the movement and the work that that left ankle is doing. And we'll exhale, release. Nice job. So go ahead and roll out those ankles. I know that feels good for me after doing balancing poses, especially when I'm depending on just the one leg. And nothing fancy here. We're just going to end on our bum. So come to a seated position. We'll end with a nice little hip opener. It's going to be butterfly pose. So your feet can be at various lengths. So maybe it's more of a diamond shape for you today. If you have the space, you can always invite the heels closer to the inner thighs. And you want to grab, so you want the thumbs in the arch of the foot, and imagine like you're opening up a book here. So you have the other four hands kind of grazing or over the toes or somewhere on the tops of the feet, and then those thumbs are really pushing and opening here. You'll notice when you do that, your elbows kind of naturally come to your legs, so they can open up your hips as well. So with that being said, keeping the hands here and bringing the elbows to wherever they kind of fall in the legs. You want to keep the spine straight here too, and just find a generous fold or whatever fold is working for you today with that straight spine just for a moment before you start to round. So if you're rounding right away, you're not really feeling it, feeling a nice stretch in the lower back. So you want to inhale to lengthen, and as you exhale, start to fold and then round, getting that full stretch. And just for a few moments. I know after a bunch of balancing poses or even those lunges, it kind of feels nice to sit down and let the hips open up more naturally here. Like I said, we will be ending class here today, but if you would like a traditional Savasana, please don't let me stop you. Go ahead and make your way to your back, and maybe you find this same position but lying on your back. So the soles of the feet will still be together and the knees will be out wide. Bringing the hand to the belly and one hand to the heart. And this is the time to kind of just come back to your breath. Thank your body, thank yourself for definitely making time to find your way on your mat today. And staying as is, I will close out practice here. So if you took this and you enjoyed it, please let me know and give me your feedback. Yeah, I'm trying to do weekly videos here, gearing towards, outside activities, how yoga can help with flexibility, with strengthening, with body awareness, with balance. There's a lot of different hobbies that people do that, they can incorporate those little yoga things into as well. So that's where I'll end class today. Thank you for joining me today, guys. I hope to see you and share this space with you again.